Hey, Garage Gym athletes, before we get to the show, I wanted to check to see if you knew that we are on YouTube. We've been on the platform for a while, but only more recently started to get serious about some video content. So while the podcast will meet most of your needs, some things simply need a visual explanation. So if you want more on concurrent training, programming, garage gyms, head over to YouTube, search Garage Gym Athlete, and subscribe to the channel. I look forward to connecting with you on another platform. All right, let's get to the show. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here, and just me today. I'm talking about goal setting. So welcome to 2023. I think this is always a great time to talk about goal setting. And to be honest, I am a huge fan of goal setting. And I know that that's not common anymore. It's actually kind of strange. I've been, seeing things circulate, whether it's being on other people's let's just say content platforms, like checking people out on social media or, newsletters, all these things, YouTube channels. And I see this recurring theme, and I've seen it over the years, but it's even more so now than I feel like it's ever been. And it's this contrarian stance against goal setting. There's always something, right? Like, hey, don't set goals, do this instead. And this thing that they're talking about is really just, it's a process goal instead of an outcome goal, but it's still a goal. They call it a system. And set a system, don't set a goal, but really that system's a goal. Or, they have some reason why they don't do goals, but in reality, if you listen to them more deeply or get to know them as a person, they absolutely set goals. They just don't set goals in a way that they don't like. And they feel pressure, or they feel something that they don't, that doesn't jive with their personality. But ultimately, if you look at it, they're setting goals. Everyone is setting goals. Anyone who's moving forward in this life is setting goals, and they're going through a growth process, whether they're aware of it or not. And what's funny is what I'm saying, like, hey, you should go set goals, is the new contrarian view. The contrarian view of don't set goals, be different. That's becoming so common that is no longer contrary. And so all these contrarian views about goals are really just becoming the norm. And I think me saying, hey, you should actually go set a goal is maybe the new contrarian view, at least with what I'm seeing. And, you absolutely need to set a goal. Goals are so important. I do think the goal setting process is so important. This is what I've just lived by ever since I left the military. I was not a big goal setter in the military. I mean, I set goals, kind of like what I was saying, like everyone's doing it to some degree. I set goals in the military, but I had never been like walked through a process that made me understand why I wanted something and why I'd go after it. Like a lot of military goals for me when I was active duty, they're almost set for you. It was like, hey, get to this level, get this award, get this recognition, whatever it is. So I would have these goals, but everything was set for me. And then once I became an entrepreneur, it's 100% like, what do you want to do? How do you want to be successful? And this is true in training too. Like I can choose any training goal, and I've really learned like what I don't like. Like for me in fitness, I don't like physique-based goals. And it has nothing to do with me being unhappy with my physique or thinking that my physique is perfect and I can't look any better. It has nothing to do with that. I just don't enjoy the training. So for me to, do what I used to do and, eat 3,500, 4,000 calories to gain a bunch of muscle mass and then go do a cut afterwards, I used to do that stuff and I hate it. I don't want to do it anymore. I really just want to have fun in my training and push my performance to as much as I can. So once I understand that about myself, I don't set goals that don't serve me. I don't set goals that I don't want to do. And lastly, another one is that you guys have probably heard it. I mean, if you've been around the podcast, I really wanted to achieve the 500-pound back squat and 5-minute mile on the same day. And while I'm not saying that's completely off the table, it's off the table right now because I hit injury after injury after injury. And I had a lot of intrinsic motivation for wanting to achieve that goal. But then after like the fourth time I tried to come back and achieve it and I got hurt again, I was like, why are you doing this? And once I really reflected on that, it was extrinsic. It's because I had told this community and told other people that I was going to do it, like I was going to shoot for it, that I wanted to do it again. But that's never a good reason to continue down a goal because you think other people want you to. In reality, no one really cares that much what you do or do not do. Especially when it comes to things like, physical fitness. So that's another thing that you have to look at. you have to like look at these things and decide, is this actually serving me? And I'm going to dive into the science a little bit more in this podcast when we're talking about goals, but goals are absolutely important. And I think when people get uncomfortable with goals or they take an contrarian stance on goals, I think they just haven't gotten very good at the process, because I've been doing this process for a very long time. And I'm not saying I've achieved every goal that I've ever hit. It's quite the opposite. Like I've just learned how to set a goal. And I think most people don't know how to set an appropriate goal for themselves. I like to give the example of trajectory. So if I was let's say I was a tank and I was shooting a missile out, right? This is a conversation I had with, I think he's a 6-year-old, one of my son years ago, when I was explaining trajectory, and I realized how much it ties to goals, because if you go straight up, if you're to shoot something straight up, it's going to come basically straight down. And I think when you aim too high with your goals, that's what can happen. And I think that big goals are awesome. Stretch goals, they get you to think bigger than you currently do. They make you reimagine possibilities and where you could take your life and who you could be. But you can do that as a thought exercise or thought experiment outside of having to actually set this goal for yourself. And then in the reverse, if you aim really, really low, downward, you're going to shoot your missile right into the ground. You're only going to be like 5 or 10 feet in front of where you were when you started. So yeah, you launched, but like you didn't make it very far. So what's the point? And you could just do that over and over and over again and make progress. But I think you'll lose the desire to want to continue to chase goals if they're too big or if they're too low. And so you have to find that right trajectory, that 45-degree angle that just launches things off perfectly and, keeps you the right amount of challenge, but it's not so hard that you will not achieve it. And it's not so easy that it's, you're done in a day. And I think that's where most people struggle with goals. It's not actually achieving goals. It's just setting the correct goal. And there's a big difference between goal setting and goal achieving. So goal setting is fun. We can all do that. We can all set a goal. But goal achieving is where you go you do the thing, right? And it's a little bit harder than the goal setting when you're sitting on a comfortable couch with your notebook and you write it down. There's a lot more work to do in the achievement process. Okay, so I think the goal setting matters a lot, but doing it appropriately, knowing if it matches up with your style, your ability to achieve goals, that's what you have to know. And so goals absolutely matter. And sometimes there's a lot of prep work involved in achieving a goal before you even can start. And I think that this is another thing that people mess up on with goals. And a good example, I'm reminded almost every day. It makes me think of goals every single day. So I drive down my roads leaving my house, and I live on a county road. So county road, I'm sure you have them in your area. They're just old, crappy roads. And what it means in my area is, the city does not maintain it. The county is responsible. And when the city maintains things, it's smaller, right? So they're quicker to be able to fix things and whatever. There's sidewalks on a lot of the roads. But in the county, there's none of that. There's no sidewalks. There's a pothole. Good luck. Might be fixed in a couple of years. Those kind of things. And so we have really, really crappy roads around my house. I mean, just awful. And the county finally put together some bids, and they're redoing the roads. And I've been watching this process, I don't know, for like a year and a half. And it's just so interesting, someone who knows nothing about construction, just seeing this massive multi-million-dollar project of them redoing a county road in this area. And I think, if you think about it, it's like, well, what can be involved? And it's the same with like goal setting. Is like, well, this is not serving me, so get rid of it, and I'm going to go do the new thing, right? I'm going to do the new thing. And it's like the roads. Like if you put me in charge of this road project, I'd be like, okay, it seems simple. You rip up the old road, you put down a new road. Like why is it more complicated than that? But from what I've watched, it's so much more complicated, and that's why it makes me think of achieving goals, because they've had surveyors out, and the surveyors are seeing what trees, if any, need to be removed. They're looking to see at the turns to see if the turns that are currently the curves like in the road are too aggressive, if they need to lengthen those out because some of them are pretty aggressive. And then a major thing they've spent like 6-8 months of this project on before they even started laying a road was drainage. Getting all of the water to flow in the right places. That way, when they're done with the road, it's not just going to rain and wash it away or ruin it, because none of that was planned for previously when they had these county roads. And they've just been spending so much time on the prep work and doing the drainage, making sure the water flows the right way, like big picture, all the way down to like people's driveways who touch the county road and all sorts of stuff. And it has been fascinating for me to watch, because it does, like I said, it makes me think of goals. Because if you say this year, you're like, you know what, this is the year I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and exercise, whatever the thing is that you want to do. Well, you might not be ready for that. You can't just say, you know what, sleeping until 6 or 7 is bad. I can't do that anymore. The new thing is waking up at 5 a.m. There might be some prerequisites, some pre-work that needs to be involved in that process. And this is where I think a lot of people miss, and why they miss on their goals, because what people want to do when they achieve a goal is they think, I just need to try harder. I need to clench my fist. I just need more effort is going to get me the thing that I want. And that's not the case. It's not the case in real life. It might be the case if there is no one else in your life and you don't have to interact with very many people and all you have is you and you're allowed to just focus on yourself. But that's not the case for a lot of us. It's not the case for me. It's not the case for a lot of people listening to this right now. So you most likely, a lot of our listeners and people I know in the community, they have a family, right? They're married, they have kids. And so that automatically complicates your goal setting process. They have to be factored in. No matter what the goal is, they automatically have to be factored into what you're doing. And how often are you doing that? Are you actually factoring them in? So if you have to wake up earlier, what considerations do you have to make? Well, you might have to go to bed earlier because you don't want to compromise on sleep. You don't want one of your health goals in 2023 to be, you know what, I'm going to exercise more at 5 a.m., but I'm going to take out 2 hours of sleep. So I'm only going to be getting 5 hours of sleep, but you know what, I'll be waking up at 5 a.m. to work out. I actually don't know which one in the grand scheme of things is better. Like, I want everyone to work out, but I also want you to sleep. Like, I want you to be able to do both, because lack of sleep is bad, no exercise is bad. And so you're going to have to maybe do the pre-work of going to bed early, adjusting your schedule, doing it slowly. Don't go from waking up at 7 a.m. to 5. Maybe the pre-work is, hey, I'm going to wake up at 6:45 for a week, then I'm going to wake up at 6:30 for a week, then I'm going to wake up at 6:15 for a week, and then I'm going to wake up at 6 for a week. But I get it. That doesn't make as good of Instagram posts, and when you tell people about your goals, it's not as cool to just say, yeah, I'm waking up 15 minutes earlier per week until I get to this thing. Like, it makes you sound like you're not, you're weak. Like, you just can't just go do the David Goggins approach and rip the Band-Aid off and just do it all at once. But the reality is you have to do it that way. Like, and if you don't learn this is my biggest fear for people. If you don't learn this, you're never going to achieve any of your goals. And you could be a very successful person right now, but what I've seen over and over again is people, they stop somewhere and they don't even realize it. They get to a certain level of success, but they stop. Like, they can't change anything in their life. They've built so many habits, and it's led to a good amount of success, but they could get to that next level if they would just learn how to take away the things that are no longer serving them and add new ones. And so you have to go through this process. And even if you're very successful, driven, type A person, but the further you get along, you might become a little bit worse at goal setting, because a lot of the goals that you're working on are things that you've basically already achieved, and they are almost at a maintenance level. Do something new that pushes you and challenges you. So just make sure that you do the prep work necessary. A lot of time that's involving our families, or involving a team, or getting the right gear in place. If it's like a fitness goal, setting up your schedule to be able to do the things that you want. Like, they're all like implied tasks, right? So there's the actual task, the actual goal, and any given goal is going to have a dozen implied tasks, and you don't want to take on too many of these. So that's the big thing with goal setting, is making sure you do the pre-work. Now, one thing that I wanted to dive into was a little bit more on the science side of this. So when you're going through, I don't want to go through an elaborate goal setting process, but I think that you should just pick one, maybe two goals. And that, you know, you're going to have this bigger outcome goal, right? Like the thing that you want, but that typically will get boiled down into a process goal. Okay. So the outcome goal could be back squat 500 pounds. And then the outcome goal will be squat twice per week for the rest of the year. You know, and so we're committing to the process where we don't have to think about this big giant thing. I've always been horrible at that. If you guys have listened to the podcast talking to me about the Daily Over Decades Challenge, where I had to do 300 training sessions in 2022 and all that stuff, like I could not think of like that number. I just didn't even think about it. I just knew if I did 6 training sessions per week all year, I'd be good to go, right? And so that's what I did. And that's how I always look at goals. Like I like to get the big thing out there and be like, okay, that's the big thing. I don't want to think about the big thing again. I don't want to look at the big thing again. What are the small things I need to do on a daily basis? Because I can do daily. Daily's easy. Daily's not overwhelming. You know, let's do that. And so make sure you're thinking of your process, your outcome goal, the overall, and then the process. And really, guys, no more than one. Like you really don't need more than one goal. I feel like to take on more than one goal has to be earned, and you have to earn that through achieving the first goal that you set. And if you want to do like different areas of your life, like, okay, here's a business goal, here's a personal goal, here's a fitness goal, I think that's okay. But if it's like a giant gonna upend your life goal, just one. Other than that, don't get too crazy. Maybe one per area for your life if they're all like pretty achievable. Now, something you know I love is the self-determination theory. And this is something I've spent a lot of time at looking at just as a coach, talking to people, you know, with our EO3 coaching material. Like, how do you get other people to do not what you want them to do, what they want to do, right? Like that has always blown my mind as like, if you want that thing, why don't you just go do the actions that are necessary to get that thing? And I get it. It's hard. The human condition is a difficult one. And it comes down to the self-determination theory. There's a ton of research on the self-determination theory, a lot of scientific studies. Definitely go check it out if you ever have some free time. But what it comes down to are three things. And this is the only filter I want you to run your goal through. So the overall outcome goal, run it through this filter before you set the process goals. Okay? And that is autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So those are the three biggest aspects of the self-determination theory. And the self-determination theory is really, it's just a theory in which how do people feel confident in their abilities to maintain motivation to continue chasing goals. Like that's the best, like the easiest way I can say what self-determination theory is without like reading the scientific definition right here. It's just like, how do you maintain motivation when you set a goal? Like how do you have that self-determination to keep going? And they have all these theories surrounding, and they've done a lot of testing and stuff. Now the three things are, like I said, are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The first one, autonomy, is essentially like, are you in control of the goal? That is the first question you need to ask yourself. And if you don't put any thought into that, you're going to be like, what do you mean? Like, obviously I'm in control of it. I'm the one setting it. But going back to my 505 goal, like I said, after a certain point, it wasn't a goal for me anymore. It was a goal for other people. And that I lost autonomy in that. I wasn't doing it. I didn't have self-control or ownership over the goal anymore. I was doing it because of external activities. I was not intrinsically motivated anymore. It was external factors. That's pressure. And sometimes you feel like there can be negative consequences if you don't achieve the goal. These are things that you want to stay away from. Okay, so are you in control of it means that you have control over the goal. You are setting it for you. It serves you. You own it, and it's your decision. You're not doing this goal for anybody else, and it would actually serve you in your life. And I think that's a big one that people really need to look at, because if I say my goal is to have X number of dollars in the bank this year, so it's like a savings goal, right? Sounds fine. But what if I don't care? Like, what if I just do not care about money, saving it? I have no plans to do anything with it. Like, what am I, like, why would I stay after this goal? And you can come up with 100 reasons why saving money is a good idea, but if I don't think it's a good idea, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you can argue somebody into a point, it doesn't matter. It's all about how they feel. And so that's the first thing. Will this actually serve you, and do you want it? Do you own it? Do you control it? So that's autonomy. Just, are you in control of the goal? So answer that first. So you set the goal, big outcome goal, and then you're going to ask yourself, is this something that I actually want? Is this my goal? Or am I doing it because of some sort of extrinsic pressure or because a negative consequence may get me? If it is external or negative consequence, you need to stay away from it. It's not a good goal for you. It needs to be something about what you want, what you can take full ownership of, you control, and you want to do it. You'll be surprised if you actually look at a lot of goals, how they're not actually, like weight loss is a big one. Sometimes people, like, they think that they want to lose 20 pounds, but they can't actually, like, they don't want to own that in any real way. They can't see why losing 20 pounds would actually be helpful for them. And maybe they just don't actually want to. And that happens over and over again. So that's why the goals are never stuck to. And so really look at your goal and ask yourself that. The second one is competence. So in relation to the goal, are your activities effective at achieving the outcome goal? So competence, you have to feel like you are engaging in activities that you're good at, or at least you're getting better at, and that they are leading to the desired outcome. So are your activities effective? That's competence. And you really have to, this gets it down to the process level of like, okay, well, if I do these things, do I truly believe these activities done daily over decades, daily over a month, daily over the next year, do I feel like these activities are actually going to help me get there? Like, do you really believe it? Because if you don't have that belief, you will not stick to it. And this is how goal setting becomes important again, guys. Like, this is how goal setting becomes important, because when you just say, yeah, my goal is this, but you don't have any of the mental stuff locked up in place, like getting your mentality, your psychological side of this locked in, you're not going to get there. You will not achieve your goal if you don't understand the mental side of yourself. And so you need to believe that the activities you are doing on a daily basis will get you to the goal that you want. You have to believe it. And I don't know what makes you believe something. Maybe it's reading scientific literature. Maybe it's hearing a friend. Maybe it's a testimonial. Whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself believe that the activities and actions you are going to take over the next year are going to help you lead to your goal, whatever going to help you believe it, that is competence. And that's what you need to do. So you have to get to the competence belief level. Like, not someone told me these activities. Like, if I don't think a deadlift is going to help my back squat, I'm not going to deadlift because I don't believe it. But if someone's like, no, it actually will, here's why, and I can get to that belief, cool, let's do it. If I never get there, abandon it because I don't believe it. I'm not going to feel competent. And so I do not believe my activities are effective in the goal that I am in control of. So even if I completely control the goal, it serves me, I own it, this is what I want. At my deepest level, if I don't believe the activities I need to do are the right activities, I will lose motivation to continue down that path. And I have experienced this as an entrepreneur over and over and over because nobody tells me what to do or how to do it. And I don't mean that in a egocentric, I'm the boss. That's not what I mean at all. I mean, when I have a goal, I don't have someone to tell me how to go do it. You know, you can work with mentors, you can hire coaches, but no one 100% with 100% certainty knows these are the actions I need to take to get to the next level, to get to that, to the goal that I have. Like, no one knows with certainty. And so when I set goals, and I'm like, you know what, my best guess is these activities will lead to that goal. But then once it doesn't start to work out, I start to lose my motivation and desire on the goal. And it's not because I don't want the goal, it's because the activities, I no longer believe the activities that I'm doing are leading me there, and I'm like done. My motivation is toast. So I have to come up with new activities, same goal. So this happens in entrepreneurship at a deep level that I understand, because I don't have any sort of scientific study I can look at that tells me this is the best way to do it. In fitness, it's the opposite. In fitness, I could be like, if this is my goal, like this is how you get there, like that's how you get there. That's just science. It's easy. It's a little bit harder in entrepreneurship. So make sure you believe in the activities that you're taking. And the last one is relatedness. And this one might throw some of you for a loop, but is your goal somehow connected to others, or does it involve others? And this one is pretty interesting. You have to serve other people. You know, like, I think it's part of human nature. Like, we just don't fully even understand it or grasp it sometimes, even if it's a very personal goal that you're going after. You have to, develop close relationship with other people, maybe do some social activities, anything that's going to build some community or connection in the process of achieving your goal. This could be getting partners in business. This could be joining a gym or an online fitness community, whatever it is. And yeah, that last one, like, yeah, join Garage Gym Athlete. Do join, don't join. That's not what I'm trying to say here. You need to be a part of something. You need to be connected to other people's in some way in your goals. And this goes beyond accountability. Okay, it's great to have a coach or an accountability partner to hold you accountable. That's just making sure that you do the work. But setting up your life in a way that your goals are something that you truly want. You believe the activities you're taking are going to get you to that next level, and you're connected to other human beings in this process. It's just a part of being human. And I didn't make this stuff up, right? You can go look up the self-determination theory. This is one of the 3 core principles. You need to connect your goal somehow to other people. So like I said, it can be a community, it can be some sort of coach relationship, or reorient a goal to where it just involves other people somehow. Maybe it involves your family, maybe it involves your kids, maybe it involves your friends, whatever it is. You have to have this community piece. I left this piece out for so long. I just did not think it was necessary in achieving goals, but it absolutely is. And achieving my goals has gotten so much easier the more I've gotten people involved and connected and who understand my goals, what I'm after, what I want to achieve. And they're there. They're there to fully support it. Where you get your friends in your community to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. It's such a powerful thing. And how you do that is up to you, but it's one thing that you don't want to leave out. And so that's it, guys. That's how you set a goal. And I think the 3 things that I just went over, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, are overlooked. And that's why everyone around this time of year takes a crap on goal setting. They tell you why they don't set goals. They tell you what they do instead. They tell you something that's better than setting a goal, when in reality, they probably just did it wrong. Maybe they haven't looked at the science, and we have. Okay, so what you need to do, set the giant outcome goal. And I don't mean the big trajectory one. I just mean like the bigger, like, here's what I want. That's your outcome goal. And then you're going to run it through the autonomy question, right? So are you in control of the goal? Do you truly want it? Re-listen to the middle of this podcast if you have to. Then after you realize, okay, this is the goal that I want. Now you can start looking at the process. What am I going to have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to achieve it? Do I believe these activities will actually get me there? If I don't believe them, how do I believe them? How do I get myself to believing that they will work? Or new activities. Think of different activities that are going to get you there. Experiment, change. And then lastly, how do I connect this goal into my community, into a community, into my family, into my friends? How do I get this goal in there so I am connected with other human beings in this process? You can even use them as accountability partners, whatever you have to do. Go through that process this year with one goal. Check off every item I went over in this podcast and just tell me how it goes. I bet it'll go a lot better than the I want to lose 10 pounds because. It's going to go a lot better than that. And your goal might look a lot different once you truly look at who you are and what you want. Your goal might look a little different than I just want to lose 10 pounds. It might look a lot different than that. But this is the work that you need to do if you want your goals to be effective. So go out there, set some goals, crush 2023. And remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to GarageGymAthlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.